You're listening to How I See It, hosted by Han. You guessed it, that's me. I am here to motivate and inspire you with guests from all different industries and backgrounds. So get ready for personal stories of success, of growth, full of highs and lows, and of course, unapologetic realness. This is How I See It. Okay, you guys, I am super extra excited to introduce today's guest. I have Karin Hadadan on the podcast today again. I'm so excited. She's the creator behind ECE New, and she's the author of Beauty in the Stillness, and now the author of The Unlimited Power Within You, which is so fucking cool because the last interview I did with her, it was after the first book, and now I'm interviewing again for the second book. She came on the podcast then, and she's on back now. I'm so excited.
Oh my God, I feel like that was a lifetime ago.
It was a different version of you, I think.
Oh my God, like 10 different versions ago, which is so crazy. It's only 2 years.
It's cool, and I know that for a fact because, and I was going to make a joke that like everyone that comes on in this space, I am like, well, I'm assuming there's a healing journey, so let's get into it because of what you do. And I know there is one for you, especially since last time we talked because I just read your book and it's absolutely amazing. It was so fucking cool. I have so much to say. So let's get into it. Since the last time we spoke, what has happened in your life and what inspired this book?
Wow. Oh my God, where to start? So I guess I probably talked about this on that episode, but I went through journey of chronic illness, and I can't remember if it was when you and I had spoken yet, but I for the first time was properly diagnosed with endometriosis.
Yeah, you hadn't yet.
Okay, so oh my God, that was really a lifetime ago.
You hadn't.
Okay, so I was properly diagnosed with endometriosis in January of 2023. And it was like, that was the marking of a completely new era of my life. And everything happened so fast. It was like, I was diagnosed in January. I went to a bunch of different specialists and doctors and whatnot, and went through a roller coaster through that journey. And then had surgery in May of 2023. Wow. Thought that was the moment my life was going to change. And it was, just not in the way that I thought. Essentially what happened was, the surgery, I thought, was going to be the answer to all my prayers. And it helped. And then a month after my surgery, all of my symptoms came back. No. Because while the disease was out of my body, the limiting beliefs, the way that I treated myself, the lack of self-love, and honestly, not even the lack of self-love, but how cruel I was to myself and my body, all of my symptoms came back. And so towards the end of 2023, I had my first spiritual awakening where I realized like something's got to give and nothing changes if nothing changes. And that's when I was led on this journey of really going inwards and doing like deep spiritual, emotional releasing. So that involved doing breathwork journeys 3 times a week for an hour and a half after work. Like I put in the work. It was like journaling and facing myself and reading about trauma in the body and doing hypnosis and inner child healing and all those elements. And I knew at the time, because I was experiencing at that point, not just physical pain, but so much soul level pain. Like I just remember feeling so tired all the time. And it wasn't like I didn't sleep last night or, I had a rough week. It was like my soul was exhausted of just surviving every day.
You literally say, I have it written next. Yeah. It was a manifestation of a lifetime spent in a relentless state of flight or flight and emotional dis-ease. Yeah. And I love that you say dis-ease because that's exactly what my therapist used to say to me all the time too. And I never really knew what it meant until I looked in the mirror, started asking these hard questions and realized that I was putting myself into dis-ease.
Oh yeah. Emotions are energy in motion. What happens when you don't allow yourself to feel, which I grew up in an immigrant household. My parents are extraordinary, like so much unconditional love, but they were not taught how to feel their emotions. Therefore, I wasn't fully taught how to feel the lower end of the spectrum, like anger and grief and frustration and all the sadness, all of it. And so what I did was bottle it up. Where was the energy stored? It wasn't moving in my body. I wasn't releasing it. So it literally stored in my gut and my pelvic area. It was a lifetime. So think about a healing journey, right? We all say it's not linear and it doesn't happen overnight. It took me years, and I'm still on the end of it. Like, I will say I've come so far. I am like on the brink of like fully closing that part of my life. And it's so freeing. It's like God is saying like, okay, you learned all the lessons. Like, we don't need to give you physical pain anymore. And that's where I'm at now. And it's really interesting because a lot of the life lessons I'm having right now, I'm about to enter my Saturn return in like 3 weeks. So everything is coming up.
How old are you turning?
I'm 28.
So you're turning 29.
In December. My Saturn return starts in a few weeks. And I'm like, wait, pause. What a pleasure. Like, my stress and my experiences in life that are teaching me big lessons are not coming through physical pain, because I went through the ringer on that front. But now I look back and I am so grateful, and I would not change a single second of that entire journey, because it really just awakened my soul.
Yeah, because I think you were hoping for, it sounds like with the surgery, like almost like a Band-Aid effect to happen. And I don't blame you. Like, it's a surgery. Like, that's a big deal. You think you're going to get better. It must have been very frustrating is probably an understatement when the symptoms came back. What was the moment you realized what was going on?
I was so confused as to how I could have symptoms without having the disease anymore. Something logically wasn't making sense. I also was reading The Body Keeps Score, and that opened my eyes a little bit more. And to be honest, it was a conversation I had with my mom one day, like a few months after my surgery, and my mom was like, I'm going to say something, and I wrote about this passage in my book, and my mom was like, I'm going to say something, and I don't want you to take it the wrong way. And I was like, oh, fuck, like, what are you about to say? And she was like, do you think you're doing this to yourself? And I was like, what? Like, the audacity you have to say that to me? But it really stung when she said that. And that was this wake-up call of, Karin, you're not practicing what you preach. You know your thoughts create your reality. Yeah. You know that, emotions cause disease. But here you are living against that.
Yeah, I think it was a necessity. And I know, like, we've bonded over this. I was reading the book, and you write, spiritual awakenings are often experienced out of necessity. Our souls sense that our potential transcends the limitations of our current challenges. So fucking good.
When people read my own words, I'm like, whoa, who wrote that?
I have to, because I feel like you deserve to hear it. And also, I just think it's really powerful, like the language you choose. For me, I mean, I've shared with you, like, I was so suicidal in high school. Yes. I was so depressed. I was so anxious. I started smoking so much that I didn't have to feel my feelings. And I was just in so much a violation of my conscience. Pursuing healing was out of necessity. Totally. Like, I was taken so low to the point where it was like,
and your soul chose that. Your soul chose those exact circumstances. My soul chose my body to experience this physical affliction, to then awaken my soul to come here and do what I came here to do. Because the truth is, I would not have been able to write this book had I not gone through all that. My soul chose those experiences. Your soul chose those experiences. And now here you are guiding other people and teaching other people from a place of lived experience. And that's something that I'm starting to understand more, is knowledge plus experience equals wisdom. And a lot of people have knowledge, but they don't have the experience to back that up. They don't have that proof. So what's special in your case, in my case, yes, we know our thoughts create our reality, but I lived through that when I was in high school, or like I had that with my health issues. You know what I mean?
Yeah. We're taken the way that's going to like show us truth. I was so in denial of the truth of the fact that I was perpetuating my own misery of like where I was, that like I think I was just going to keep going until, and that God was going to keep taking me there until I was able to face truth. What do you think the truth was for you? And what kind of truth are you referring to in the book?
Wow. I think I had a lot of moments where God tried to wake me up. I just wasn't hearing it, to be honest. Throughout my 20s, it was like one health thing after the other. And transparently, you would think that this endo and the post-surgery catastrophe would have fully woken me up. It was actually right after I finished writing this book, I had my biggest spiritual awakening, where I was still not learning the lesson of Karin, you are putting so much pressure on yourself. That's what it was. It was like my soul was like ready to fly, and God was like, not yet, not yet, not yet. And it taught me this really beautiful lesson of divine timing. And long story short, this time last year, or a little like April of 2024, I found myself in the hospital for a panic attack. I didn't even know it was a panic attack. I literally thought my heart was breaking, like collapsing.
You thought you were having like a fucking heart attack.
Literally was having a heart attack. And I was like, go to the doctor, and they're like, everything is normal. I'm like, no, like nothing is normal, and something's wrong with me. And it was like, I identified so hard with this chronic illness. And it took me that whole experience to realize, Karin, you are not sick anymore. Take that limiting belief out. So when it comes to the truth, we are limitless beings, and we can heal ourselves. And that the title of this book truly is so intentional. The power is within us. Of course, you can speak to a therapist. You could use medications. You could go to a breath work. You could do all these modalities, meditation, journaling, whatnot. But it's your power, because someone can tell you what to do. It's what you do with that information that changes it. Yeah. And that taught me that if I could heal from all those limiting beliefs and create the reality that I now live in, oh my God, then I can do it. I'm limitless. I can do anything. Yeah. I could achieve anything. I could be anyone.
It can be very triggering for people in such a dark place to hear that, like, it's up to you.
I know.
And I think that if I was in the place I was and heard that, I'd be like, what the fuck? And now it's so obvious that I was like really identifying and letting depression and anxiety become a part of my identity instead of trying to release it and not hold on to it anymore. And I think that it took me being really real about that to like kind of get out of that place of dis-ease. And also, you're right, like I just think like I had a lot of pressure on myself as well. Where do you think your pressure came from?
I think as a child, like I always wanted a big life. I always wanted to do big things. And I think my soul, to be honest, was like, we're running out of time. In this day and age, it's so easy to compare yourself. You know, you watch other people on social media, you see everyone's highlight reels. I'm not saying anything new. We all know that. But I think I just was like wanting to live the life I wanted to live since I was like a teenager. But I think what you brought up earlier is a really important point, where when people hear, you know, it's up to you to change your life, I think it's actually so empowering. And I think if people could flip the switch on that, you have the power to create whatever life you want to live. How exhilarating is that?
Well, yeah, and I think also there's this need for control, of course. Like, I think I really struggle with that, because I'm like, if I can control, then I can see outcomes, and I don't have to. But I think a huge part of my healing, because, you know, it never stops. It's like there's always new realizations.
I have a spiritual awakening like every week. So every Monday, it's like, what's new?
No, seriously though, but I think since I saw you last, like something I've had to do is really like give my dream and like vision for my life like room to evolve and grow. And I've spent so much time holding it like this. You wrote, I ceased to request for specific outcomes, recognizing that my own definitions of what I needed often limited the breadth of what I would receive. So fucking good. I talk a lot about this concept though, like of surrender. And I think a lot of people talk about like the need to surrender, you need to surrender, blah, blah, blah. But it was written in a way that I hadn't read before. Like, what do you think it was that like proved that to be true? Like, what was the moment where you were like, I'm holding on too tight, I'm like expecting an outcome that could be even better if I just surrendered?
I think it was the entire healing journey I was on, right? Because going back to my surgery, if it worked in the way I wanted, in May of 2023, I would have had my surgery. By that summer, I would have been healed and I would have gone on with my life. I would not have learned 99% of the things that I had to learn, or is written in this book, divine timing, surrendering, trusting God. If it happened the way I thought, none of that would have happened. I would not be sitting here today. We've all had those experiences. Like, even when you're planning a trip, you're like, I have this vision of how it's going to go. And then when you get there, you're like, surrender, like whatever happens, happens. And it always ends up being more fun and bigger and better, you know, more beautiful memories than you could have ever imagined. Yeah. And I think when we're gripping on something so tightly, it's actually this lack of trust in the universe, in God, in yourself, that you could have more than what you wanted. And when you release that, you're essentially creating space to receive more. And I think for all the moments in my life that I let go, that's when everything effortlessly came towards me in a very easy, flowing way.
Yeah.
And knowing that what that feels like, it's like, why would I grip?
The cool thing about this book that I think was different than the last book is that you wrote this in real time.
Yeah.
And it was very obvious that you did. And I don't know if it was obvious to me because of my own healing story and like my battle with anxiety. It is very obvious that this book is a prayer of surrender, like through anxiety.
Yeah.
Like it's obvious. You can see it in like the ups and downs of like your confidence. Do you think it was just over time you were able to build surrender, or what was it that you started to practice like in your mental affirmations, in your practices or whatever, that allowed you to surrender in these moments?
I started saying a prayer every day, and I think that prayer wholeheartedly changed everything for me. And I still say it every day. And I'm going to say the prayer because, and I'll explain why it works and how it automatically leads you to be in a state of surrender. Every morning I thank God for all the things that I have and whatnot, but then I say, God, show me where to go, show me what to do, show me who to speak to, what to say, and what to hear. Guide me on my path so that I follow your will, your timing, and your plan versus mine. Give me a nudge or an intuitive action that is the right next step to living in alignment. From stating that prayer, all of a sudden I'm walking down the street, I hear a voice inside of my head, walk that way. Lo and behold, I bump into an old friend. Or I see a store and I walk in, I end up buying my favorite pair of jeans that make me feel really confident at a moment that I wasn't feeling confident. Or I feel a nudge to email someone. They connected me on a dream of mine. All these little things, right? And I think by saying something like a prayer like that, like show me, I'm so open to how things are going to unfold that I actually don't really care what happens throughout that day. I just want to be tapped in and I want to be connected. And also simply by saying that prayer every day, it's an act of surrender, saying, I know you're going to deliver. Universe, I know you're going to guide me today. So even just that act of saying that prayer is trust. And when you trust, you're back in the present moment. You know you're always protected. You know you're always being guided. But look, surrendering isn't like, okay, today I'm surrendering, I'm good. It's an act that I struggle with still daily.
Yeah.
Like to your point, what you were mentioning earlier of giving your dream space to expand and evolve and grow. I wrote a screenplay recently. Like that's another dream of mine.
Love it.
And I'm like, part of me just wants to like force and control and reach out to people and put it out there. But I'm really being challenged right now to surrender to that path.
Yeah.
And it's uncomfortable, but I pray about it throughout the day. Writing this book was the act of surrender. Like, God, I don't know what the fuck is going on right now. I don't know what you're doing with me and why you're doing this. But I'm going to follow this intuition because I knew I would write a book about that journey in the summer. It took me a while to start writing it, but I knew in my heart, like, I'm not going through all this without reason.
Yeah.
So then I kind of had to surrender to it.
Well, and I love that you're bringing this up because I feel like a lot of people say that they don't feel like they can hear or feel their intuition. And I feel like my response is always like, it's because like you're holding on too tight. When I can't hear my intuition, it's because I'm like in a place where I'm trying to control everything that I can't even hear like where I'm supposed to go or what I'm supposed to do. Like my intuition is off because I'm trying to control so tightly that it's not almost authentic.
Yeah. And I had a moment 2 days ago where I had a full-blown existential crisis. Same thing. I could not hear my intuition. And what I realized was I had been taking in so much external noise in the past few weeks. People telling me how to show up online, what content to share, what to write, what to do with my time, where to give my energy. Don't focus on that. Focus on this. Listen to me. Listen to, and I couldn't hear my own voice. I stopped living in the present moment because everything that I was giving my mental energy towards was for the future. It was like, but how am I going to get there? And what about that day? And what do I do if this happens? And something that has really helped me when it comes to tapping into my knowing instantaneously, and I literally do this throughout the day when I'm walking, at work, in the bathroom, like literally every second of the day, I pause, I put my hand on my heart, or I just take a breath and I say, what is the truth? And let your higher self come through.
Yeah,
and
that's
often
so good.
What happens, it's like, babe, you're overwhelming yourself. Girl, you're fine. honestly, you should work out today, or like you're being late, or whatever it is. And it's a loving voice. It's not a forceful, egoic voice. And that little trick of what is the truth throughout the day has really helped me in the past few months, to the point where I don't need to sit through a meditation for 30 minutes to understand or hear my intuition. It's like in real time.
Yeah, and I think it's a self-worth thing too, which I never really realized that it was popping up this way, but I've gotten better at recently actually being like, you deserve to be able to live in the present. Why are you not allowing yourself freedom to like trust and like live in the present moment? You are deserving of that peace, you know, you are deserving of doing that. And I do think it's rooted in self-worth. You wrote, it was the rock bottom one. So I also loved the titles of everything. I was like, this is so raw.
I was like, I'm going to name it how it is.
No, it was like rock bottom. And I was like, oh boy, here we go. You write, there I was on my knees imploring the heavens to take everything I cherished. I pleaded with God to take everything, if only he would grant me the gift of radiant health. I was prepared to surrender it all. And then you continue, and then you go, which shattered piece of my soul convinced me that I couldn't have it all?
Thank you for reading these to me.
Oh, it's so good.
It's like really doing something to me.
It really did something to me, because I read it and I feel like I really, really struggle with this. Like, why do I feel I'm undeserving of all the good things? Like, it's almost like, and especially in my life recently, I feel like I've really, not consciously, but I think after like just really thinking about the last couple of months and like the ups and downs of like my life and what's going on, I've had like such good success in the business and the podcast and everything. And my love life has been like a dumpster fire. I feel like there's been this like almost humming of like, well, you can't, like, if you're gonna do this, like, you can't have that too. Like, I don't even know why you expect that. And I think that's rooted in like my trauma and like how I grew up as a child, but also I think just like self-worth of like, well, there's no way that I should be able to have a successful business and also have a healthy relationship.
Everything boils down to your self-worth. All of us. We don't manifest from our thoughts. We manifest with what we feel we are worthy of. If you have a limiting belief that I can't have it all, guess what? Universe is going to show proof like you can't have it all.
I loved that you called yourself out on it though.
I was like in such physical pain that I was like looking around my apartment, and I was like, and like I bought my apartment. I manifested that. I pay for everything in my life. Like, I worked really, really hard to have the jewelry that I wear and the wardrobe and the apartment and the lifestyle and like, I work really hard, right? And I was looking around my apartment and I was like, God, just take it. Like, I don't care about this stuff anymore. Like, that was the moment I realized what trauma does to you, which is like, you realize nothing else in the world matters. But it also was this moment of, but wait a minute, like, God gave me all these things. What makes me believe that he doesn't want to give me more? Like, if I could have everyone to believe in one thing, it's that God wants you, the universe wants you to have a beautiful, beautiful life. The dream career and the dream husband and the dream family in the dream house, doing the dream thing, like everything.
This has popped up in therapy like a lot for me, but it was this moment where I was like, oh, you don't even believe you deserve the business. Even though you work your ass off. Because if you did, you wouldn't even be like negotiating with like, well, you have this, so like you shouldn't be able to have this.
Love and money are very connected, because when you think about it, money is all about self-worth, like pun intended,
totally.
Right? And then love is the same energetic frequency. And so it's really fascinating to me of like how we can believe we are worthy of something, of like a beautiful career, yet our brain can't feel the same way when it comes to love. Something isn't clicking there, right? Because your career right now that you're flourishing is proof that when you do believe you're worthy of something, you will receive it.
Totally.
So what makes you think you can't receive the love as well? That's when you have to do the inner work, asking yourself the tough questions, like, what limiting beliefs are holding me back? Is it that I'm not good enough? Is it the, I must work hard to achieve success, or all love leads to pain, or whatever the limiting belief is? And then when you unravel that thread, you go back to the beginning and you're like, oh my gosh, we were talking earlier about how the last time I was on the podcast, my name was Karin. I went by Karin. And in the past few years, I returned back to my authenticity. My name is Karin. I'm Armenian. But when I did the inner child healing, I went back to that moment, the traumatic moment, and it was second grade, I moved from Armenian school to public school. And I went to the front of the class. Everyone is already friends with everyone. I introduce myself. I say my real name, and everyone starts laughing. So I go home and I tell my mom, and she's like, all right, let's go by the American pronunciation. Let's call you Karin. It'll be easier for everyone. Second grade was the moment that I abandoned myself unknowingly. And my mom did the best she could. But what was that? That was me not living authentically. So what happens? My entire life, I go by this false name and I'm not showing up in alignment. But when I returned back and was like, it was those losers in second grade that defined my entire adult life. Yeah. How silly is that?
Yeah. Well, and I think it's smart to say it like this too, because obviously, like, you can joke about it now, but like that's like a really hard thing at that age when we call ourselves out on our shit and you really like give the why to like these limiting beliefs, because a lot of times, like to your point, like we will just let these things run on like fucking repeat in our head and we never question their validity, let alone their origin. And so I think when you actually give the lie, I'll say, the fake narrative in your head, the story, it almost does make it silly. Because you're like, what the actual fuck? Like, that's where that came from. And I think the reality is we just don't believe we have the power, to the point of the book, to ask ourselves that question.
But the moment you ask yourself a question like that or interrogate the origin, and it takes a while to get to that root source. I mean, I did a lot of hypnosis and journaling and whatnot. I'm not going to say it's easy. It is work. It's inner work. But the moment you discover that, it instantaneously loses its power over you.
Yeah.
And then you have this awareness. Anytime you start operating in that same way, you're like, wait a minute. Why would I go by Karin? No, I know what that means. I'm going to say my real name.
It's simple, but really hard.
Yeah.
And I think that you have to be committed to believing that you have unlimited power within you. And I don't think that's something a lot of us believe. No. And I would say I even sometimes am like, can I do this? Can I not? Whatever. But I think you have to be audacious with your belief and your capability in being able to change and being able to show up.
When people say, you know, no one's coming to save you, it's like you really do need to save yourself. And
yeah, no one's coming.
No one's coming. No one's coming. And again, what a gift that you have that power. Because when you do this kind of work, and I'm so proud of our generation, truthfully.
Oh, yeah.
And, like, I sound like I'm, like, 50 years old. Like, oh, I'm so proud of the generation. But, like...
We are 50 inside.
No, literally. And I'm just so proud of people really doing this kind of work because my parents' generation didn't. And it's crazy because a lot of people who resonate with this book, they're a lot older. Like, they're literally in their 50s and 60s. And they're like, how do you know all this? And it's like, well, I did the work that your generation didn't know how to do. So we have so many tools. We have so many resources. Even listening to a podcast like this is an amazing first step if this is the first time you're diving into these themes, right? But I just wish everyone would give themselves a chance to try.
Yeah.
Because the freedom that you receive and feel when you are living in alignment, living the life you've always imagined, and really starting to believe like how limitless I am, every day feels like an adventure, a magical one. It's like I wake up every day now, whereas 2 years ago I'd wake up like fuck, like I don't want another day. Like I was ready to give up at some point. Now I wake up and I'm like, oh my God, another day. What magic awaits? Like, who am I going to become? Even if it's a hard day, I'm like, another limiting belief. Yes. Like, what a gift. That means I'm about to up level, you know?
Yeah.
And I want everyone to.
Or it's a reframe.
It's a reframe.
I think everybody wants the other side. Like, everybody wants to feel at peace. Everybody wants to like have the successful business. Everyone who wants love in a relationship or whatever. But I think the part that we're getting at is like not a lot of people either know what it takes or they don't think they're deserving of even embarking on the journey.
I think what people are afraid of is not achieving that. I think or the work itself. I think what people are afraid of is discovering how powerful they are. I think they don't feel deserving of that. I certainly didn't. I sometimes still struggle, like, God, why did you choose me to be this role in society, right? Like, writing a book of this caliber is a big responsibility, because I need to live up to that. I need to embody that. And I'm still on the embodiment journey, and I'm human, and I fall backwards and all those things. But I think a lot of people are actually afraid of their own power because that feels really uncomfortable. Like they can't hold it, right? Their vessel and their belief system can't fully carry that. So that's why they avoid the work.
Well, I think also, like, if you can acknowledge your power, then you, like, have no choice but to.
Oh, yeah, because once you realize your power, you have no excuses anymore. You can't say that you don't have time. No, because if you believe that you're powerful, you will create the time. You will manifest the ease in your life to then do the thing you want to do.
Well, because, then you're, like, violating your conscience.
Yeah.
Because you already know.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the hardest parts of doing the work is, like, when I'm in situations now where, like, my growth is being tested, I, like, fucking, like, hear my podcast echoing in my head.
Oh, my God. I literally, like, repeat lines of what I've written in my book. Totally.
I know, and I'm like, fuck.
And it haunts me, but
I know, I'm being a hypocrite.
That it does.
I know. I'm like, fuck, I have to make
does.
the hard choice, because if I don't, like, I'm too aware. Like, this is, like, it's almost will cause sickness again. Like, if I catch myself, like, engaging in, like, a thought or a situation that, like, I know is not the version that I want to be, it's, like, it starts to make me feel sick, because I'm just like, fuck, like, I know too much to do this.
Totally. Even the screenplay that I wrote, that's something really personal to me. It's my story in life. And there's a few lines that I wrote. One scene was around love. And one of the characters is like, sometimes you think it's love, but in reality, you're either chasing a feeling or you're actually trying to avoid one. And now I'm like going through my life and I'm like, do I like this person? Do I not? It's like, wait, am I chasing a feeling or am I avoiding feeling the loneliness? Like, what is it?
That's
and now
so powerful.
It's like rent free in my head. But thank God it is, because every time I choose something, action, a decision, I really want it to come from a place of love and light. And even if I make a decision that's coming from a place of lack, that isn't love and light. I want to choose from a place of wholeness. And it's like that reframe instantaneously where you're hearing your own voice of the podcast, like that's the moment where you're like, no, love and light, wholeness, worthiness.
Well, and I think there's this misconception that, like, you have to be healed or whole to be able to make a choice out of wholeness.
Oh, it's
when
a
in
great
reality,
point.
like,
No.
to become whole, you have to start making choices out of wholeness, or you'll never get there.
Totally. One of my spiritual mentor was telling me the other day, she was like, the fact that you've manifested all of this while being 50% in alignment, just imagine what you will create and what reality you will live in when you are fully in that wholeness. And that made me feel relieved, because I think there is a lot of information out there, like you have to be healed and whole and perfect and living your best life to meet the love of your life, or to have the right job or the right career. And it's like, yes and no, like, obviously I want to meet the love of my life when I'm purely in wholeness and alignment. Of course I would want that. That doesn't mean if it's God's timing that I meet him when I'm not there. Like, we have control, but not that much control.
Okay, this triggered a question for me.
Yeah.
Do you believe we'll ever be like 100% whole and aligned?
I do believe we can. Not everyone will in this lifetime if they don't do the inner work. I do think we can achieve that wholeness. But I think there's iterations of that. When I become a mother, that's going to be a whole other spiritual awakening and a whole new layer of wholeness. I do think we can achieve that. But at the same time, I think wholeness is very different, in my mind at least. I don't know if this is right. Wholeness is very different than like healing. I think healing is mending what once was broken or making something more sound when it wasn't. And I think we will always be on that journey. You heal one layer and then you're up here and then you heal another one and something else comes to the surface. That's just the process of it, and it's beautiful. But I do believe that we can achieve that wholeness.
Wholeness is like, I don't know, it's subjective.
It's also returning back to the version of you that was brought into this universe. And so that to me is what returning to wholeness is, like that pure essence that our souls came here to be.
Yeah, I think that wholeness is just getting fully aligned with like your purpose, one, but also with to your point, like rewriting the things that brought you away from who you actually are. And I don't like wholeness, I don't think means perfection.
No.
It doesn't mean like you hit the end, like you hit all the stones. I think it just means that you are where you're supposed to be.
I think that's a really interesting word choice that you use, because to me wholeness is it's loving the imperfections. Like unconditional self-love to me is wholeness. Like, can you love yourself at all versions of yourself without judgment, without shame? You're not air quote, perfect, but you're whole.
Yeah, you talk about the modalities that you use, which you've shared. You put my health was the catalyst, my curiosity sustains it. When talking about this fear you had around like losing your practices, like if I get healthy, I won't have my spirituality anymore. That was like the fear. What does staying curious in your spirituality and healing look like for you?
Beautiful question. I'm so glad you asked that, because a limiting belief that I discovered was I must suffer to create art. And so I attached my identity.
Like a tortured artist.
Literally. And I attached my creativity to being sick, being ill, chronic illness, all those things. I started getting into the world of mindfulness and spirituality because of my health. So my health was the catalyst, right? Meditating every day, journaling, breathwork, all those things. What I've realized now, there is a world inside that every day I am discovering more and more and more of. I meditate every morning. I journal every morning. And here's the thing. Some of those tools that I mentioned, like hypnosis, breath work, so forth, they served me for a period of time until I no longer needed them. And I think giving ourselves grace too to adapt and change and shift our routines depending on where we are is really important. So the only practices I now have is meditation, journaling, and prayer. And like I said, I ask myself throughout the day those like deeper questions. But when I meditate in the morning, I'm not meditating to heal. I'm meditating to quiet the noise and tap into my inner knowing, hear my intuition, and to change. Even in my meditation today, it wasn't like this groundbreaking visual of me doing another thing. All I kept hearing was like, be where your feet are. Be where your feet are. You would have killed to be where you are today. And for the past few weeks, I've been thinking about like the future, where doing an in-person podcast episode has been like my priority for this year. And here I am, like thinking about like 6 months from now, where it's like, wait, just be where you are.
Yeah.
So when I say I'm curiosity, it's like, what do I know inside that can guide me every day? And that's why I enter this world, because it's a magical adventure, to be honest.
Yeah, I think that people need to start looking at our healing and like therapy and breath work and all of the things we do to keep our mental sharp as like the same way you would look at the gym.
It's a tool.
Like it's just a tool, and it's not something like, it's like if we looked at it the way that you were scared of in this, little part of the book, I would say that like it would be like when people work out to lose a ton of like weight or get trim for something, and then they like never go back, and they like eat really unhealthy, and then they like gain the weight back, and then they're like, fuck, I have to go back.
Yeah.
And I think it's an unhealthy relationship to have. And I think that our spirituality practices, our mental health practices, like they don't have to be when we're in dire need.
Yeah.
Like they could actually just like live and exist with us in our routines. And then when something bad or crazy happens, which it will because it's life,
you double down on
You double down and you know what works and
Totally.
You have it.
Well, I actually think I wrote a whole Substack about this titled, "Can We Stop Healing Already?" Because I think a lot of us, myself included, okay, like I have used the word healing a million times in this book, in my first book, and it's a beautiful word, it's valid and so forth. But I think we've overused it. Like we're using the word healing for everything. Like I'm healing my body dysmorphia. I'm healing my relationship with food. I'm healing this. I'm healing that, to the point where we've diluted what that even means. And to the point that everything we do now is to heal. If you go into something with that intention, you have really high expectations, and that is actually what deters you from healing, because you're putting so much more pressure on yourself and more anxiety on yourself and more stress on yourself. Whereas if you go to a yoga class, if you go to a breathwork class, if you go to the gym for the first time ever, whatever it is, to change, to expand, to evolve, to feel alive, how much better is that? Because I think the word healing does feel heavy, and it has this negative connotation because it just is a meaty word of like what it actually means. But I think we just kind of need to stop using it so much.
Yeah, I'm trying to do better too. I think that I use it in regard to the amount of times I said healing journey on this podcast.
Oh my God, same.
But like, I think that's valid because we're referring to like a time and like what we've been through. But I'm trying not to use it as much in regard to what we're talking about, because I feel like there is this like deep rooted connotation when using it that like I'm not whole already, or like I'm not worthy already.
Exactly. That's what it is.
And I'm really trying to work on my self-worth. Like, I mean, that's just like a battle in itself, and like growing and evolving, it's gotten so much better. Little comments like that are small ways that you can start like shifting into a space where you're like, I'm already worthy.
How many times, I'm curious if you've done this, I'll get like a matcha. I'm like, oh, this just healed me. And it's like, why am I using the word healed to get a matcha? Like, no, this tastes amazing. Or like, this energized me. Like little things, like I think vocabulary is so big.
Words are powerful.
Very powerful. I stopped saying I have chronic illness. I stopped identifying with all those things. And they were part of my story, but any moment I can rewrite that story.
Oh, that's so powerful. For someone who's really struggling, whether it's like their physical health like you were, or their mental health, they just are like rock bottom, like the title of that one. Like, what do you want to tell them?
You may not understand now, but someday you will. When you're going through a really, really tough season, it's so hard to see a way out. I could not see a way out for so long. But what I have discovered is that if you just keep going, you will see a light. And what you will notice is that light is not behind you, it's not in the distance, but it is the light inside of you that God reignites. And that unique light of yours is what will carry you through that darkness. And when you do get out of that darkness, you will then illuminate the world around you. And that is worth everything. Giving it up to something outside of me was like 20 pounds lifted off my shoulders. Yeah. And I think a lot of people are afraid to ask for help because I think subconsciously they know they're going to receive it, but they're terrified of what comes after that, which is the work.
Well, I think we get addicted to stuckness.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I say it all the time. Like, we're very comfortable in real uncomfortable.
We're comfortable in the uncomfortable, but the uncomfortable isn't comfortable.
I know. It's like a mind fuck.
Yeah.
I think we convince ourselves that, like, our comfortable is comfortable, and it's not. Yeah. I was raised so religious, and I think my relationship with God and all of that has evolved and changed, and I've been able to like make it my own. But something I'm really thankful for, like growing up in that way, was that like we were always taught that like we're not like omnipotent or omniscient. You are not all knowing. What happens is not your own doing, and to surrender.
Yeah.
But it was always paired with like, but it's also your choice. You have to be able to surrender. You cannot plan. Like, you need to be able to. If you can't, you will get sick. You will be anxious. You will be depressed. Like, you have to choose. Like, your life is in front of you, and it's there, and it's going to unfold exactly the way it's supposed to, but it won't if you don't choose it.
Yeah. We are co-creators. That's how I see it. We have free will, but there is also a divine plan. And there are millions of destinies for all of our souls. Like, if you today decide you want to be an red carpet host, you have that desire.
I may go that way.
You can go that way. Like, and if you believe that you're worthy of it, doors will open effortlessly. There's also a reality where you decide in 2 years, I actually want to be a stay-at-home mom. That could be a destiny for you. You have the freedom to choose. The timing of it, what I'm learning now, isn't up to me.
Yeah.
That's what look, my relationship with God is changing every second. Like, I'm still learning how this all works energetically, because I know that I could bend time in a sense, like I can quantum leap and I could move things around and bring in things and manifest exponentially, and I grow in a very rapid rate. But at the same time, there are things that are written that are so out of my control. And I'm still learning, where do I have free will and where do I not want to have free will? Which is kind of a really intense thought. Like, where do I want to say, God, I give it up to you? In love, that's something that I'm like, God, I trust you. Like, I don't want to control that one. Like, that is, I want it so badly. I feel so ready for it, but I trust you on that. But then what happens is, I'm 28 and I'm single and everyone around me is, traveling with their boyfriends, and I get lonely. And it's in moments like that where it's like, actually, God, like, can we hurry this up a little bit,
Yeah.
But so every day I'm being tested on that front.
Thank you so much for coming on.
Oh my God, thank you. You do your homework. I'm so grateful for you.
Of course. I've been like reading because it came in and I was like, this is so good. And I was so not expecting the way it was written.
I wanted to ask you because my first book is very different.
It was so different.
Yeah.
I was really excited that you were coming on the pod because I invited you before I read it because I just knew it was going to be good. But I was so excited because I was like, it is so obvious that the person that I am meeting with next week is not the same person I interviewed before. It was just really obvious, like in the way you were writing and what you had learned, it was obvious that you'd been through something. I wasn't like just saying it, like I definitely could feel energetically like through the book that this was like a journal of surrender. This was a prayer of surrender, like 110%. And it was so incredibly vulnerable of you to share your diary, essentially. You're just a really well-written, like, articulate person.
Thank you so much. The reason why I wrote this book was, to be honest, was like, create the things you wish existed, right? I have read every Eckhart Tolle, Joe Dispenza. I love them. They've changed my life. What always bothered me with the self-help personal development world is people would give you all this knowledge and not explain how they arrived at those conclusions. So I'm like, okay, yes, your thoughts create your reality, but like, how did you arrive there? So I hope this came through, but my intention was to show the journey. And there's 5 chapters. It's awakening the self, understanding the self, honoring the self, freeing the self, and becoming the self. And that is the journey of a spiritual awakening. And you kind of mentioned this earlier where I kind of walk through that process because I wanted to show people, like on page 1, I'm like, spiritual awakenings happen out of necessity. Yeah. And then like by the 4th page, I'm like, I'm at a rock bottom. Yeah. And like, that is the truth of the journey of it.
No, it's so raw and real. I applaud you for it. I think so that much. The reason why people don't do it is because it's not shiny when you do that. But it was real. And I like that you didn't package it up in a bow because you're like, if you're going to embark, like this is what you're getting into. Yeah. It's worth it 100%. But like, let me show you how hard it is. Because I think the reality is that, and this is why they started the podcast as well, like people deserve to hear people's stories and like hear people talk vulnerably. I don't do it for me. I do it for other people for sure. But I think like it feels good to like read this and know like, okay, I'm going through my own healing. It's also really rough for her too. Like, because you start to question in the moment, like, is this like
normal? Like, am I supposed to feel it?
Yeah, or just like, am I losing my fucking mind? Which has been like the question of my entire life.
Yeah.
And it's cool to like in the moment see from like one page to the next, like you were feeling really good, and then the next day you were not feeling good.
And that is life, ebb and flow. I mean, literally this past weekend, Saturday, I was like living my best life, running my errands, shopping, jamming in the car, and then Sunday, I just woke up and like started crying at 10 a.m. I was like, the fuck happened?
Yeah. Life
happens. Energy happens. Whatever happens.
Yeah.
But thank you so much. It means so much to me. And it will never fail to make me feel surprised when someone's like, your words shifted something for me. That's my only prayer. My only wish is that my words reach the right people. Because I want people to experience the transformation that I did in a very accelerated way, in a way that isn't as painful. And if I can help someone on their journey feel less alone or make it easier on them, like that is my only wish.
Yeah, and I think there's a beauty in when you share the hard moments with people and it's written like this, like for someone like me where like I've already kind of like I've done like the chapter 1 and 2, you know, and now it's about like having new realizations and deeper things pop up. And so when you get to see someone else navigate the deep stuff, it can like trigger stuff in you as well, to be like, oh, like the way you like wrote certain things, it's like I knew that, but the way she wrote that made me think about it differently. So I think it's really impactful and cool, and I just appreciate you. So you know the drill. Before you leave, looking back at the journey and this healing and spiritual awakening you had and like what you've done, there's so much more to come, obviously. How do you see it?
I am limitless. I really, really believe that now. And because I believe it, I'm seeing it in my reality, like how limitless I am. Anything that I want in life, I would not desire it if it wasn't already mine at some point on the timeline. And going back to the basics, the present moment is all you ever have. I'm embodying that more than I ever have. It is a challenge, but what a gift this moment is. And I'm really just trying to honor that at each moment. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Please share your socials so they can follow you, because you share so much good stuff there still. It's just like cool affirmations, little food for thought when I see it.
My Instagram account is at ICIETNU. And in my bio, you could find links to my books, my Substack. That's kind of where I've been putting most of my energy as of late, just more long form in real time. So if you are interested in like reading more of the darker stuff or the in real time transformation, that's where I share what I'm currently going through. So you don't have to wait for another book to read that. And all my books are linked there. And yeah, I'm hoping to do more events. That's like my goal now, is to do more like spoken poetry and panels and that kind of stuff. So
thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed the episode, and I hope you leave here feeling motivated and inspired. Do not forget to rate and review the pod on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and don't forget to follow How I See It Pod so you can keep up with podcast updates and see who's coming on next. And if you're not already, come join the fam and follow at How Han Sees It. Thank you guys.